7 seconds before we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. 3, 2, 1. All rise, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I know that there are lots of folks here for our friend Justin, who is elevating today to the position of sergeant. That's all going to occur at the end of the meeting, so feel free to sit down and enjoy the business of Doylestown Township as we take part tonight in the operation of your local government. If somebody has to leave and wants to come back, that's fine. Think about 7:30, quarter to 8, but we hope you all stay. Before the start of the regular meeting tonight, the board met in executive session. We interviewed a young man for a junior member to our Park and Rec Board, and the board, the chair will now entertain a motion to approve that young man for a position, if so desired.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint BJ as a youth member to the Park and Rec Board.
BJ Balaji? Okay, to a junior member of our Park and Rec. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The board also met in executive session to discuss some matters of litigation. And now we are to the position on the agenda for visitors and public comment, if any. Seeing none, we're moving on. Announcements. We're next meeting on Tuesday, August 16th, 2017. That would be a regular What time is that meeting? 7. 7? Mm-hmm. At 7 p.m. The Thompson Performing Arts Series continues tomorrow with the Neil Diamond tribute called Real Diamond. The Quakertown Band, which is a very nice band, hometown band, is playing on July 27th. It's Bucks County's oldest community band, so that's worth the visit. That's July 27th. All these are at the Covenant Bank Amphitheater in Central Park. The other Thompson Performing Arts Series continues on July 29th with Doylestown Heat. It's a jazz, swing, and ragtime funk and rock band. And then Jimmy and the Parrots on August 3rd. That's a Jimmy Buffett tribute. And I do believe Jimmy Buffett's playing at the Camden at the same time. So, it's going to be a lot cheaper to come to Doylestown Township to see the Jimmy and the Parrots and to get to see the real Jimmy. The Boy Band Project is on August 10th, and it sounds like boys' band. So if you remember those guys from the 90s, then that's what you will hear on August 10th. Leaf and yard recycling for waste is for Doylestown Township residents only. Drop-off site is every third Saturday of the month, March through December, beginning at 9 a.m. to 11, and the location for the drop-off is the New Britain Road access to the back of Central Park. And you can purchase discount movie tickets and discount theme tickets for parks from our administrative offices. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the June 21st, 2016 meeting. Did everyone have a chance to consider and read and review the minutes?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Any changes or corrections?
I'll second that.
Second the motion. No changes, corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. One abstention. Okay, next item. And we love little people talking, so please don't feel like you have to quiet anybody. Babies and toddlers are welcome here, and all their noises. So,
they're better noises, aren't they?
Yeah, we like their noises. Okay, Tabor property is, the plan's been withdrawn. We have a communication from Mr. Gunlock.
I would suggest you take a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the withdrawal and to mark the plan withdrawn.
All right, is there a motion to so move? The plan is withdrawn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, dog park resignation of Ms. Lois. For Karen Sweeney, is there a motion to accept her resignation? Lois,
So moved.
WEGFAHRT. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
New Britain Township update for the 2005 comprehensive plan.
The board will recall that you reviewed their draft. They now are in a final draft. The document is available. If anyone has any comments, be happy to incorporate them into a letter. If not, we will let them know that we're pleased with the work they've done in incorporating our previous comments.
Yeah, I think it came in a Dropbox form to our mailboxes, if you've had a chance to look at them. The board, does anyone need to review it again and make comments?
No.
Good to go? Good to go, Stephanie.
Good to go. Thank you so much.
All right, and then regrettably but happily, Emily Remmett, who has been our youth member to the Park and Rec Board, is resigning because she's actually our youth member, our intern for the summer, and then she's going off to Brown University in the fall. So is there a motion, please, to accept the resignation of Emily Remmett?
Regrettably, yes.
I'll second.
Happily, we all say aye. Thank
Aye.
you.
Aye.
All right, reports from the solicitor.
I have nothing we won't discuss later in the agenda, Madam Chairperson.
Chief?
I'll withhold my comments until prior to the swearing-in.
Township engineer is not here. We'll pass on him, assuming he had nothing to say, because if he did, he would be here. Manager?
I just want to let the board know, I attended the zoning hearing board last night. The Neal Drive property, the former Jaron property, the subject of a zoning application to put a special exception for a drug and alcohol rehab. We have been attending last night. We had hoped that the operator would be in attendance, the applicant would have that person there. Unfortunately, the person was not available to attend. And so we heard from a land planner who identified the outlines of special exceptions and that the property currently meets the, outline for a special exception of this nature. So I just wanted to brief the board at this time. We still do not know who the potential operator is. I know that was something you have all
Yeah, I
been
thought that
wondering.
came up. We discussed that, and I thought we were going to get more information at the zoning hearing boards. And I'm personally starting to get a little concerned. I feel like I'm going into this tunnel, and I don't know as much as I'd like to know, and the information seems to be out there, but it's not out there, and I'm concerned.
We were told in October we would have answers to these questions, and we still don't have them.
Yeah, I think our concerns are well placed, don't you?
Yes, because I attended it as well last night, and that is the major concern from the residents. They're not hearing anything about who the owner is, how it's going to be operated, hours, what kind of treatments, and we've been asking for all this information, and it's not forthcoming. So.
Well, and the board has been very proactive and supportive of drug education and prevention, and certainly celebrating recovery.
Right.
And we're for a recovery house, but we need to know what that involves, who the operator is, what the credentials are, and if we don't get this information, I think we ought to change our position at the zoning, our position as a township at the zoning matter, and be a little more oppositional.
Right.
I'm in favor of that. If somebody wants to make a motion that we went as observers, because, as you said, we're in support in this, but, this is just too many mysteries for my comfort level.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion?
So we're going to take the position of opposing at the zoning hearing meeting.
Correct.
I'll support.
All right. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Is that 5?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Steph?
I have nothing.
Okay, supervisors, I'd like to pass on my large report. Anybody have any, Sean, you have anything to report, knowing that I have 4 or 5 things on the agenda?
No, I'll defer. You could talk about the fireworks
Can
before.
you give me-
You're
give me-
right?
You're yielding your
I'm
time.
yielding my time.
Okay.
Sure.
Ken?
The only thing, and I didn't know if you were going to talk about it or not, but I want to talk about
Oh, you feel free. It was on my list of things
Yeah,
at the end. But please.
The auditors ran and did the audit for the year ending 2015, and we'd like to comment that it was a very good audit. Kudos to Ken Wallace and the whole staff for doing a very good job. Going through this, there's a lot of information, as you can imagine, that has to be accurate, and it's a statement of how good a work process they have, because you can't just prepare for these things in a moment's notice. This is the work that they're doing all year long, so good job to the township staff on that.
Right, and the Ways and Means backup support for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, great job. We got the best audit you can possibly get, best audit review you can possibly get. Sir, do you have a comment? Would you mind taking the, Mr. Paternoster, please identify yourself.
I'm having a tough time hearing you guys. If you're going to make us speak into the mic, can you try to speak into the mic, because it's not coming back? Thank you.
Thank you. That's very helpful. you want me to repeat anything? Okay, hearing a no on that.
You're done, Ken.
Rick?
Yeah.
Are you done, Ken?
Yes, thank you.
So the pressure got to you. Well, in order to alleviate the pressure put on by the chair, I'll start out by saying that Barbara Lyons is on the board of directors. If you all got the Observer in the mail, you'll see her picture and her
Board of Directors for what?
Lenape Valley Foundation. Thank you, yes. So I'm hoping that grants me a little bit more time here. The Planning Commission met, and those items will come up a little bit later in the agenda. The other meeting we had, the DEP came out at our invitation to give us some guidance, and this is a regional office of Southeast Pennsylvania, and it was very heartening to hear that the first comment from the director was, "I don't know why I'm here, because you guys are the best there is, and when any other area wants to get into waste management, any other municipality, he tells them to call Stephanie, because Doylestown Township has the best there is." He said eastern Pennsylvania, but he wouldn't be surprised if it was all of Pennsylvania. So kudos to Stephanie, who's masterminded this and guided it all along, and it's good to hear from an outside source that we're well respected and well recognized. The DEP was impressed with the data we collect and the reports and the maps we have generated, and they mentioned that we should seriously consider updating our 537 sewage plan. That was one of their recommendations. They ended the meeting with advising us to look forward in the future, and their comment was, on-lot septic systems are finite. The on-lot systems over time need to be repaired, upgraded, replaced at a significant cost to our residents. They suggested that we as a township need to give our residents many options. In many areas of our township, there is no sewer pipe for the resident to have the option to hook up. They believe, from what they're seeing, that in the future, younger new home buyers will not want to buy a home in Doylestown with an on-lot septic system, choosing to look elsewhere for future homes. So that was a seed they planted in us to look down the road as we do our planning for the 537 plan. And the other thing, in our PSATS magazine, they did an excellent job, of course, on managing energy. And one of their important points was, if you build it right in the beginning, you'll save maintenance later on. So in other words, spending an additional $200,000 in construction cost for the new building, if it saves us annually $20,000, that's a judicious decision. The upfront cost goes up, but over time, we're going to make it up with the annual repairs and the annual savings, whether it's solar, windows, et cetera, buying the right, good, long-term equipment and doing the planning that way. So I would encourage the building committee to take that to heart and read the PSATS magazine. Done.
Thanks, Ryan.
I'll yield to you, Barbara.
All right, on your desk, before the start of the meeting, you will see a proclamation for William Andrew German, sorry, that's it. William Andrew German, who's attaining his rank of Eagle Scout on his Court of Honor August 14th. We're putting it now because our next meeting will be after this Court of Honor. So, by the way, he's one of your neighbors, German, on Houck Road. You, Joe. Talking to you, Joe, can you hear me? One of your neighbors, the Germans.
We might got more.
Never mind. Is there a motion to approve the proclamation?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at the CATO, the Bucks County Association of Township Officials, which I am part of that executive branch of meeting or whatever, board, committee, we have meetings every month, and it's very interesting, very informative. And as you know, Bicado, this organization has been taking the lead in trying to recapture some of the tax that is paid to Philadelphia that should be coming back to the municipalities and counties surrounding Philadelphia, the Sterling Act. So Representative Scott Petrie has filed an amendment to the Sterling Act that would try and recapture that. So it's a very aggressive amendment. It looks like it might take some legs. So we're hoping that if this goes through, we could save equivalent of $1 million every year of tax coming back to the township that is now going to Philadelphia. Ben Salem, of course, will save over $1 million in taxes for trying to recapture some of that tax. So it's an important amendment, and I'm pleased to say that it's going as far as it is. And Cato, I'm very proud to say, in Bucks County, has taken the lead on this, and I'm hoping that the surrounding municipalities in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia also support it as aggressively as Bucks County has.
And we sent a letter in support last time.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ascertained if our representatives, Quinn and McElhenney, are supporting it?
Oh, yeah, they are.
They are.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep. The other thing Bicado unveiled through Diane Rosati, who is Executive Director of Bucks County Drug and Alcohol Commission. They're undertaking a new PR campaign, pastop.org. It's, again, a very aggressive campaign. Some of the flyers, you're going to see them on billboards, you're going to see them perhaps on TV. Would you give your child heroin for a sports injury? And of course, they're taking the position that if you're giving them oxycodone, the doctor prescribes oxycodone, the next step is heroin, because that's what heroin is, a cheaper form of oxycodone. Would you give your child heroin if he was getting his wisdom tooth out? This is, really informing the public with like a smack in the head, which is what we've been trying to do for the last couple of years. Anyone can become a drug addict, and there are drug addicts in middle-class white Doylestown Township. There are people who go to their mailboxes to get their fix from Philadelphia in the morning. It's happening here. So we have to be as aggressive and as loud about this as possible. Break the connection. So what I would like to do, what they're asking us to do, that is Bucks County Drug and Alcohol Commission, is to do some PSA announcements on, PS announcements, public service announcements on our local channel. They have 3 of them. And they also are looking for people or entities to host a Narcan community information event. And we could do several of our local municipalities together, Warrington, Warwick, Buckingham, Plumstead, Doylestown, Doylestown Borough, Doylestown Township, who did I miss? Plumstead. Get us all together, and then it would be a Narcan instruction for community members, for people who want to use Narcan in their homes. I talked to some of the local pharmacies. They're interested in coming to this event. So I would like the board's permission to pursue that kind of community event where folks who have kids who are in danger, who are at risk in this community, can get public information. Can they learn publicly how to use Narcan, how to get it, get it cheaply, or cheaper than it is because it's very expensive, and how to actually administer it. So with that, I would like to see what the board thinks about that, as well as participating in this stoppa.org.
Do you need a motion for that, Barb, or just consensus? I mean,
Consensus.
I think it's great.
Consensus, no.
We get
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
I think it's a great idea, and we should keep trying to do anything new we can to try to make a difference in this. This is important stuff.
Great, thanks. Then on to a brighter note, the Thompson Performing Arts Series has been phenomenal. And I don't know, was anyone here at the here today at the June 10th fireworks and concert? It was amazing. The best fireworks I think I've ever seen in my life. The concert was incredible. The people, it was a great event. The weather, of course, helped. It's been so successful that I think we have to see it as our signature event next year, and it's going to need a whole lot more planning. We need a lot more volunteers. We need a lot more staffing, and I'd rather not have township people, actually doing the staffing and just enjoying themselves more. But I don't like to see township people cooking hot dogs if we can get people, if we could organize volunteers to do that. So we only had 3 people parking. There were over, I don't know, Chief, who was parking out there? There were thousands of cars. and we're going to try and capture some cars that, were parking illegally, too. So we want to be able to, capitalize on this event, but we need to plan it better. So I suggest that we start this in May. So, again, I'm going to have the board maybe direct that to the Park and Rec, but it also requires all of us to participate. It's think Oktoberfest. This is our Oktoberfest
Mini
event.
Oktoberfest.
Mini Oktoberfest. We don't have to plan it for a year, but just
Right.
start it in May.
No?
Okay.
Agreed.
Good idea.
And then finally, the Fabulous Grease Band was last Wednesday's concert. Everybody know the Fabulous Grease Band. If you ever go to South Jersey during the summer, you know the Fabulous Grease Band. They've been playing there, well, I don't know, 30, 40 years. We have a connection with them for over almost 25 years. They played at one of our early Oktoberfest. They're willing to come back. I mean, last week we were in Lenape Middle School because it was a rainy Wednesday. The middle school auditorium was packed with people trying to dance in the aisles. It was amazing. So we asked them if they could come back. They said they would love to come back. So we want to get the board's permission to add a concert in September for the Fabulous Grease Band. We have the money somewhere. If not, I'll try and raise it. Probably another $2,500. So I think it's good. And it also goes to the Thompson Performing Arts Series. We'd like to extend the concert series into the fall because it's still a beautiful time of year, and we have this fabulous amphitheater. So we all good with that?
Yeah.
All right. Do I need a motion on that one? Okay. We got a consensus. And that's all I have. That's no unfinished business. Moving on to new business, Hammerstein Property, presentation of the proposed projects.
Mr. Van Louvenet.
How's that? That's enough for you.
For the public's edification, I'm sure you all read in the newspaper over the years and past, there was a multitude of hearings before the Zoning Hearing Board and the application of the folks involved with the Hammerstein project. The Zoning Hearing Board denied the request for variances. Appeals were taken, and in the interim, the folks involved with Hammerstein have been in discussions with adjoining neighbors and have presented to the township certain ideas as far as the modification of their plan, and the Board of Supervisors felt it was appropriate to provide information to the public as to what's contemplated and what's going to happen, and so that the public understands where the applicant is now with respect to the Hammerstein site.
Thank you, Mr. Garden. I looked back over my papers tonight, and it was a little more than a year ago that the Zoning Hearing Board denied the Hammerstein application, and we filed an appeal and started a dialogue very shortly after that with, through Mr. Harris, with the Malloys and Doylestown Country Club, who intervened in the case along with the township. The thought was that we would work to develop a plan that would have less impact on the township and neighbors than the plan that had been shown to the Zoning Hearing Board, which, to refresh everyone's recollection, was a plan for a community center, essentially, which would consist of a museum, which was proposed for the house and the barn, and a theater. We thought it fits. I still think it fits, but that's not why we're here tonight. We're not really here to talk about the merits of the appeal. We felt that if we could come up with a proposal that would further the objectives of my clients, Mr. Hammerstein, Ms. Cole, and Ms. Lewis, by preserving intact what remains of a Highland farm, that it would make sense, that it would be a benefit for the community. So we decided to pursue an option which actually had been suggested by people in the press, at least, along the way, that perhaps just settling for a museum would be a reasonable use of the property. Those discussions with the neighbors took 3 or 4 months. I think it was late in 2015 that we came up with a plan that satisfied the Malloys and Doylestown Country Club, and also an outline of a stipulation which would if ultimately approved by the township, as well as Malloy's and Doylestown Country Club and my clients, form the basis of a settlement that would then have to move through the normal land development process. No shortcuts would be taken with regard to land development. What would happen is that we would resolve some basic issues like the use, impervious surface, parking requirements, etc. And I'll touch on those briefly tonight. The plan that Mr. Mill has put up here on the board is the plan, we're calling it the settlement plan. This would be an exhibit to the stipulation if everyone agrees. And again, this evolved through discussions with initially with the neighbors. What this plan shows, you have two buildings, the house and the existing barn. You have an addition on the back here. For anyone who attended the zoning hearings, they'll recognize that as the location of a wing on the barn that existed when Christine Cole bought the property but had to be removed because it fell into disrepair. It was suggested that it would be appropriate to add that back. Mr. and Mrs. Malloy had presented during the course of the zoning hearings a picture of what the barn looked like when it had that wing intact. And if anybody in the audience is interested in it, I did bring extra copies of that picture. I think maybe the board has already seen it, but I do have copies if there's anyone in the audience who is interested. That would be placed on the existing concrete foundation, so there is no additional impervious that's proposed there. The only additional impervious, there are some slight improvements here to the driveway headed back, and then we have a parking lot. We originally showed 49 parking spaces. That was calculated based on the fact that there's 12,100 square feet of existing structures, and this was before we proposed the barn addition. Mr. and Mrs. Malloy and the Country Club asked us to consider whether we could live with fewer parking spaces. Subsequently, when the board first reviewed the issue, through Mr. Garten, I was advised that you also had a concern about the number of parking spaces. 49 spaces would have been required. We reduced that number of spaces to 35 for several reasons. Number one, we believe that 35 parking spaces is adequate for the museum use, and that the only reason we would need more parking spaces would be for special events, and our proposal is to limit special events to fundraisers only. No more than 8 a year, no more than 4 outside a year, and that to restrict this facility so it could never be leased to third parties. We think that's appropriate. We think that also protects the neighborhood from concerns. And we propose to use valet parking for those special events and, frankly, any other event if we have a need. We don't anticipate a need, but we would certainly agree that that would be understood. If there was a special museum function, we could certainly arrange for valet parking. That would not be a problem. My clients have no problem with that. With regard to the number of parking spaces, one of the things we need is let's see if I can get there. We need to trip the circulation here. We want to be sure that if a bus came with students to drop them off to go through the museum, that they can make the turns, that they're not going to create dangerous situations for others. This parking facility works. I think if you know, any of you who know the property know that at that particular location, you certainly aren't going to see that parking lot from the bypass. The Country Club asked us to put a berm behind the parking facility, which is kind of illustrated here on this plan, between 3 and 5 feet in height, meandering along. The Malloys wanted to be sure that we preserve the existing landscaping along their boundary line. Both had concerns, and I'm sure the township shares this concern, that is, that we remove as few existing trees as is possible. Everybody in that regard is on the same page. So we really think that the result of this plan is going to have, frankly, less impact on the community than the 4-lot subdivision that you approved. I brought that we brought that plan to show for both you and the neighbors the comparison. We presented the same plan, by the way, to the Planning Commission a couple weeks ago to make our point. This is the rendered plan for the 4-lot subdivision, which is still a valid option for the development of this property. And you can see the difference. This is the house, this is the barn. This carriage house no longer exists. But there was a proposal to put 2 additional buildings in the back. This plan received your approval. It also received zoning hearing board approval for an impervious surface variance of 26.8%. The impervious surface that we show on our plan, and Scott, can you flip it back again? We don't need to look at that any longer, is 24%. If I could do a side-by-side, I think you could see the difference in the appearance. We think it does a good job of reducing the impact. Stormwater was a major concern of the country club. It's a major concern of my clients. Oh, Scott, thank you. We'll pretend you're a guy with a poster on the street corner. All right, there we go. And you might just turn around and show everybody what we're talking about. So, for your information, the variances, the museum use is not a permitted use in R1. The community center use was a use permitted by special exception in R1. I did take a look. You have a section in your ordinance regarding the use of historic buildings, and you add some uses to what's permitted normally. For some reason, R1 isn't an area where the museum is permitted, but you did recognize it as an appropriate use in the R2, R2B, and R4 residential zoning districts. So we don't think we're making a big jump. Your zoning hearing board concluded that what we were proposing was a museum in the house and the barn. Impervious surface, we're willing to, and we can with this plan, limit the impervious surface to 24%. If the township came back and said, we want you to widen the driveway, whatever, all we're saying is we'd like the flexibility to go up to 26.8 in response to township comments, but not because we think we need it. That would just be an issue that would come up during land development. Parking, again, the ordinance would require, actually 49 plus whatever would be required for that barn addition. We think 35 is adequate. Everybody seems to prefer fewer parking spaces rather than more. Parking increases impervious, so we've got a balancing there. And we think that that balancing is appropriate here. And the other variance, which is true of any use of this property, any, quote, other use under the ordinance, is a reduction in the minimum required lot size from 5 acres to the 4.68 that we actually have. But we think it's a clean plan. We think we've protected the neighbors. We think we've eliminated, or should have eliminated here, the concerns that folks had that their neighborhoods were going to be overrun by cars at all these 200 theater events that were being discussed. Fine-tuning remains to be done. We have to vet the final stipulation. Will have to be worked out now through Mr. Garten. As I said, Mr. Harris was involved in the process when I dealt with the neighbors. We ultimately would need to come back to get your approval of that stipulation, so I'm not going to go through any of that tonight. This was just an interim review, same plan we showed the Planning Commission, essentially the same presentation that I made, 3 weeks ago, I guess, 3 or 4 weeks ago to the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Van Lubben. There's some comments or questions, yes?
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
This is a question around the parking spaces. The 35 spaces you feel are adequate, is that just for normal museum use?
Just for the museum. Yeah, that's right.
Museum.
As I think, as I said at the Planning Commission, the proposal is that the museum would be open 9 to 6, 7 days a week, not during the evenings, have no impact during the evenings on the neighbors.
So it's with the special events, the 8 that you're talking about.
Yeah, we obviously,
you would require some sort of valet parking.
We've agreed that we would have to provide. Yeah.
Okay. And then that,
like back to school, no school parking lot accommodates back to school. I mean,
yeah. In that valet parking discussions, is there any, what is the thought about how you protect people walking to and from the museum if they're not parked there? I mean, is there any concern about having traffic guards or somebody helping pedestrians coming back and forth between how are we going to protect those people visiting that?
We hadn't, to my knowledge, it hasn't been a discussion yet during the stipulation. Now, if you have any specific, or you or any other board member have specific ideas, we'd be happy to entertain
We think you're
them.
going to need fire police when you've got events
Well,
on East Road for crossing.
I think that would not be an issue.
That would probably be what you need to do.
It would be
don't you
what
think?
would normally be done, would be
Yeah.
special. That's fine.
Yeah, that would probably.
I mean, those are the
that's-
kinds of comments that ultimately I hope to get back through Jeff, so
Okay.
we can, when we finalize the stipulation, we could add a sentence along those lines. I mean, that's not we have no problem with that. Safety is an issue for the operator as well as for the general
Yeah,
public. I
yeah,
think we all know that.
It's a narrow road, and it's probably not going to be improved much beyond what it is now, so it's not a very safe road. And it's 35 miles an hour. Nobody does 35 miles an hour, but
I think that was one of the benefits of our hearing, is the township realized it had no speed limit, and you got it posted.
they catch me all the time. Do you have something?
Yeah, I just like to clarify some things.
Sure.
That this plan is essentially what we were amenable to on December 2nd, 2014, at the board hearing meeting. So you're back to where it was in the beginning. So, yes, it went through some iterations, and your comment about how everybody joined in, and we suggested this a year and a half ago, even before that. So
You
it's
suggested
essentially...
it before the zoning. I mean, I think you thought about before it went through the zoning hearing board hearing. Is that right?
We were
Exactly.
for this plan.
Yeah, and it could have been done, I think, at that point, but, I mean, that's your option to do what you want to do.
Understand that.
So I just wanted to clear that up. But you keep, I mean, what do they call that? The elephant in the room is part of the stipulation agreement. And we hope we're going to address some of those. We talked about, I think at the planning, I don't think, but at the planning commission, we mentioned we wanted a deed restriction on that. Everybody seemed in agreement. So that's one easy step tonight, to say, yes, you're going to deed restrict it to future development. And then we can move on to these other issues.
Now, the only issue that I said is that may become a problem when we're going for financing. That's an issue that often becomes an issue. And I've had projects that where financing became impossible because of restrictions that were imposed like that. We expect to be able to do it. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but we have to talk further. I understand that was an issue.
Right, and it seemed like everybody was amenable to that at the planning commission meeting. And
Well, I understand that, yes.
I apologize, I didn't hear anything about, well, there's a caveat on finance. Maybe I missed that at the meeting.
We have to review that with the clients and their financial advisors before I can come back and say yes. I mean, it's a serious question, because you don't want to jeopardize a project by ending up with a condition and having it part of a court order that doesn't work, and that's the only caveat. I mean, if this works, look, Ms. Cole bought this property with the hope of preserving it from the subdivision, hope that the bed and breakfast use would work financially so that the property could be preserved. We think this one will work. We think there's enough community support out there, there'll be enough financial support to make this project viable, and that this will exist for the next 100 years. I think everybody hopes that's the case.
And I'm only speaking for myself, okay, as you know. But that is a big sticking point with me. And the other big sticking point is we expended our residents' money, as you know, over $40,000.
I don't know that, but it's been represented that that's the case.
We'll give you the details.
Yeah, this letter is addressed to you June 17th.
Well, I said I don't know the details. I know that it's been represented to me that that was what you spent, okay?
And that's another sticking point. So, these are nice plans to look at, and we've seen them, et cetera, but I think we've got to attack the major issues, or we're going to be here 6 months from now.
I was advised that tonight we were supposed to present the plan, not the details of the
You're
stipulation.
flexible. I mean,
All right.
that's it. But I mean,
We have a conference call tomorrow afternoon to address the open questions in the stipulation, and I hope to be able to go back through Mr. Garten, and when we get it presented, I hope we can talk about the whole stipulation, and your issues are certainly part of our discussion tomorrow, all right? I mean, we're not ignoring them. We're not ignoring them.
we talked about the tax exemption. I just want to make sure we're on the same wavelength.
We're all on the same page. I've already given my clients my advice on the tax exemption. I don't believe it's an issue. I think one of their financial people thought that it might be. I don't see it as an issue, and I'll tell you that right now. So,
All right. Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Joe, you have something? Identify yourself, please.
Joe Patanastro, Houck Road. As I see it, I'm a resident. Now, I may not be next door to this fiasco, but in your own terms, I'm the community. And there's a bunch of us here from the community, and we don't agree with this plan for a number of reasons. We were not involved in any discussions at all. We were told we would be, but the only ones that seem to be involved are the township, he said, and the country club and Malloy next door. Well, that doesn't fit what we've been trying to get through. We are not really against the museum, but any other use where it could generate noise, traffic, or anything else, we have some serious concerns. And unless we get them addressed, we'll start doing what we did the last time. We'll get the whole community together, and we'll start causing people problems, which we don't want to do.
The only thing we're proposing is a museum.
I think you have...
Well, if you're going to have shows...
It's not shows.
There are
it's
no
fundraisers,
shows.
And they're going to have events to support the museum. They're going to have to fundraise to...
Do you have your events here, or do you have events out there?
Well, they're limited. There are only 4 inside and 4 outside a year, and they're going to be
For
timed.
1 day each, not for weekends at a time.
One day each.
One day.
Yeah,
Yes.
not
8 times
weekends.
out of 4
I want to see how the parking is going to be done, how the traffic's going to be handled,
So you
where the
want-
excess traffic or excess parking is going to be
Stay
put.
tuned. You know, it's all coming
Well,
in.
we want to get in on, since we weren't even told about the meeting other than us, because of the township hosting it, we had no idea what was going
Well, that's
on.
because there's no final agreement being proposed tonight. We're talking
We
about
would like to
concept.
be kept totally informed like we were last time. We would like to know when the planning board and zoning board are going to meet so we can attend those meetings covering this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anybody else? Sir? Kindly identify yourself and your address.
John Arnold, Houck Road. I keep hearing numbers 4 to 8 special events.
8 special events, 4
4
inside
outside.
and 4 outside.
More
Who
than
determines when
outside.
the events occur?
The organization would.
We have the board has no input. They don't have to have special permission for special events.
They are allowed to have, under this agreement that we haven't actually executed, they propose 4 special events inside and 4 special events
That's a
outside.
maximum. That's not a,
That's the most. They may not even have 8. They may have 2.
As long as the word maximum is included in the
Yes,
agreement.
maximum
that'd be
is
fine.
included in the agreement.
One other question. There are several buildings you mentioned on the property, and you mentioned a museum. Will the museum compose 1 building, 2 buildings?
Museum use would be made of the barn and the house. The bed and breakfast use would be abandoned. In other words, there would be 1 use on the property, and that would be the museum.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Van Leeuwenhoek.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, is that the Town's Edge? Did I miss somebody?
651, the extension.
651 is off the,
They're not available, but they're, on your table is an extension for this evening.
you. Okay.
They're requesting till October 1st.
the motion to approve the
Motion
extension.
for extension.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we gave 651 Shady Retreat an extension.
The next application is the application of Town's Edge, the Gettysburger Tract. It relates to tax parcel 9-9-58. Applicant proposes to remove the existing residential dwelling, convert the existing barn to a recreational structure, and construct a 2-story residential condominium, so there's 12 units with garage facilities located basement level for each of the units. Plans were prepared by Gilmore Associates, were dated May 30, 2015, and were last revised April 22nd, 2016. Your Planning Commission met on June 27, recommended approval of the plan, subject to certain conditions. So I have the conditions, but obviously they may want to go through a brief presentation. I know Mr. Zavetta can never be brief, but we're holding up a judge here while we go through the rest of these items, so. And we have seen your submission previously, so.
Use the microphone. Mr. Zavetta?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I will break tradition and make this very expeditious
Get
as
out.
requested. Basically, as Mr. Garten so eloquently presented, it is in fact 12 particular units. This is our final version. That is in fact the front. This is the rear, parking beneath. We have 24 parking spaces, I'm sorry.
We have an audience. We
I'm
want to
sorry, you're correct.
Entertain them.
Pardon my rudeness. The upper one is the front, the rear is the garage areas that you see below. All the design work we've done is to truly drive home a plausible historic reclamation of a structure. It's not contrived, it's real stone, it's real materials, it makes sense from an architectural perspective. Some technical points of interest.
He doesn't like your plan.
No, he doesn't seem to be impressed. He wants me to shorten up as well. Right. Basically, the new plan, as opposed to the 6, we actually have less impervious surface than the predecessor. I've also been working with Sinclair with regard to our proposal to repurpose the barn, and the barn repurposing will move into this configuration. We'll actually be lowering the barn. This is the existing barn walkout to the rear. This is additional stone that we'll be reclaiming from the upper portion as to create a ruin, if you will, repurposed into a community pavilion.
Cool. Oh, that's cool.
I've probably spent more time in planning on this site than anything we've done in some time. We've got some really interesting site plans where this will be the existing barn. We're going to try to have some natural walking paths coming around. There's an old spring house that we're going to be restoring. We're working on some concepts of community gardens. So I'm driving everything that we feel we're good at into this project, we believe, to create an exceptional presentation. I've spoke with the neighbors of Bruschettas to the south portion of the property and reviewed the plans. I had their endorsement. They felt positive with the site, and I've had no complaints, concerns, or any dialogue with any other neighbors with regard to what we're proposing. With that being said, in the expeditious fashion, Greg can speak to the particulars. In general, we're agreeing to all the letters of the consultants. We're agreeing to the fee schedule.
I'll go through all the conditions, and you can say I accept or I reject.
Okay.
The first is compliance with the Boucher and James report dated June 22nd, 2016. Applicant to pay a fee in lieu of recreation in accordance with the township's fee schedule. Compliance with the report received from the Director of Code Enforcement dated May 31, 2016. Compliance with the Pickering Court Summerson Review Letter dated June 1, 2016. Applicant to receive the 11 separate waivers noted in the Pickering Court's Summerson Review Letter on page 2. Compliance with the Michael Baker International Report dated May 13, 2016. Compliance with the Pannoni Associates Review Letter dated June 20, 2016, aside from the recommendation regarding parking signs and no parking signs and striping at the entrance road. The first 30 feet of the roadway shall have a center striping to better delineate the lanes, but not the entire road and parking signs. Applicant to explore between now and final plan any options that may exist for traffic calming along Lower State Road and the placement of a mid-block pedestrian crosswalk to access a regional trail on the other side of Lower State Road. Applicant to pay an off-site improvement fee in the amount of $1,000 for each of the 12 units to be paid at the time building permits are requested. Funding and execution of development financial security agreements, receipt of all permits from any agencies having jurisdiction. Applicant to pay all expense incurred by the township. And lastly, plan shall be ADA compliant. Mr. Zavetti, do you agree to those conditions?
We do.
Okay. Anything else? What are you looking for, preliminary?
Preliminary.
Is there a motion to approve the preliminary plan?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're good to go. Looks lovely.
Thank you.
Looks great.
Thank you.
The next item is also mine, and that is that the board will recall that several years ago you approved a plan for Doylestown Green called Rose Tract. It was owned by K. Hovnanian. They have sold to Toll Brothers, and I have prepared for your review that's been signed by Toll Brothers. They are accepting the assignment of the development agreement, posting their own money as well as the money for the escrows and so forth. So staff would recommend the board approve the assignment agreement.
And you got the principal to sign, not the Corporation? I saw that you had an issue about that.
That was on the bond, yes, that's
Yeah.
been fixed.
Okay, good. All right, is there a motion to approve the assignment for the growth track?
I'll
Make a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on.
That's all I have.
Okay, Bucks County Planning Commission hazardous waste, this is you.
Yep, we have been participating in the household hazardous waste program since probably the late 90s.
can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, Joe. We've been participating in the household hazardous waste program with the county since probably about 2000. They're proposing the 2013 to 16 price was 2005. 2113, and the prices will stay the same each year for 2017 to 2020. My recommendation would be that we continue to participate in the household hazardous waste day. It does an excellent service to our community.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second
Thank you.
that.
That
and
would
I-
be the municipal commitment. Second.
I just had one question. I support it. The implication I got was that all of the municipalities participate. Did I infer correctly, or just some of us participate?
No, this is pretty much everybody.
Pretty much, so it's
Yeah.
not everybody.
I think it's everybody. Yeah.
It does to me. I'd like to know if we're the only ones.
We're
Oh,
not, we're
no,
not
no,
the
no,
only
no.
ones.
Oh, my
I
God.
took an example, an extreme
Well,
example.
we participate and we benefit.
I understand that, but I'd still like to know if there's half participation and if there's not. That's a fair question to ask.
Do it told tomorrow, see. Let us know.
We can double check with.
I'd appreciate that,
county.
Stephanie. Thank you.
But I believe everyone, because
just
they
another
do
question around that
upper
one,
and
and I-
lower and central.
Wait, we have another question from the left?
The fee, the $2,500, is that what we paid in the past? Or
Yes.
is that,
So the price really hasn't gone up since 2013, and it'll
but did
stay
we,
the same
did we
from
pay
2013.
additional, did we pay something more than this when they were doing electronics recycling as well?
No. So it would be, because 13, they were doing the electronics then. So I know it's changed, but that
So
hopefully
we're
will
paying
go
the
to
same
up
amount,
some-
but we're getting less service?
Well, the electronics you can take to special recycling things, and they are working.
That's not my
I
question.
understand what you're saying.
I think the answer from the right is yes,
Yes.
that is correct.
But-
And also, the question from the right is, it's divided by the number of participating municipalities, and that was the reason for my question.
Okay.
All right, we good? Should we review this further, table this for now?
No, I said I was in
No,
support of
I'm
it.
fine with it.
I'm
You sure?
fine.
Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Is this hazardous waste like for gasoline, paints, and that sort of stuff?
Yes.
But will it include TV, CRTs, and all that sort of stuff? And if not, can you find out where we can dump CRTs and all the rest of that stuff?
Yes, we have some information. I believe it's posted on our website as to where you can take those electronics. That's what Mr. Snyder was saying. The household hazardous waste has been the items for all those paint thinners and pesticides and stuff. They used to, but there are places in the county that are taking, you do have to pay to dispose of them now, because the rules and things regarding how you dispose of them have changed.
All
But
right.
it's on our website.
There's a motion, we've passed the motion. Next item is on you too, Stephanie, DEP municipal cycling.
Yes,
grant.
I would recommend, DEP contacted us yesterday, they're making some changes to the grant agreement, and they'll have revised pages to us shortly, so I'd request that we table this item for right now.
Is there a motion
We'll
to
bring it
table?
back in August.
I'll entertain a motion to table.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All table? In favor of the table?
Aye.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, bike and hike trail easement for farm authorization to execute the agreement. Finally.
Finally, Mr. Kelso is here if anyone has any questions, but as everyone knows, we have a $1.2 million grant from the federal government to bring that trail along Lower State Road. And we've been talking to the landowner to obtain the easement. Mr. Kelso, any comments?
I think this is, you all know what this is, and this is the successful negotiation to avoid condemnation of the easement we need for that
Thank you.
trail.
Good job. Thank you very much.
Well, I think Mr. Garten
Yes, he
was
deserves a lot of
spearheading
credit.
this, and Stephanie, so,
I get kudos tonight.
All right.
yes, you do.
More important, is there a motion to approve this kudo?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Work
you.
is endless. Really appreciate it.
I'm here for the next one, too.
It's not going anywhere.
Okay, then.
And that's the SEPTA agreement. SEPTA has agreed
Yes.
to build the crossing, the pedestrian crossing
So they get
on Lower State Road.
$293,000 reimbursement for their expenses.
And that comes out of the TAP grant.
Yeah.
100% of it comes out of the TAP grant.
Exactly. Okay,
So,
great.
and it's a great thing for us. It takes all our concerns about working on the
This is-
SEPTA line out
This
of
is
it.
necessary so we can have a pedestrian crossing on the SEPTA train tracks on Lower State Road for the bike and hike trail. So this is great. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve this document reimbursing SEPTA from the grant?
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, alrighty then. Fuel bid from 2006 for 2016-2017. The memo has been presented to you from Mr. John. Everyone had a chance to review it?
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept the bid?
I'll make that motion.
The bids, I should say. All in favor?
I think Dick has one comment. He just wanted to clarify
Too
something.
late now, they approved it.
Pearl, at your own peril, proceed.
If you approve the first portion pertaining to the gas and oil, gas and diesel fuel, that's fine. I just need a second motion then approving suburban propane for propane.
Yeah.
I left that wording out of the very last sentence, so.
Oh, okay. All right.
Make
We'll
a
entertain a
motion
motion
for
to approve the suburban propane a bid as well. Yes, second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks for catching
Thank
that.
you.
I appreciate it. All right. Treasurer's wait, I'm missing something. Am I missing something?
Treasurer's report.
All right. Treasurer's report from July 19, 2016. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bills list for July 19, 2016. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
That would be Sean. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next meeting of this board is Tuesday, August 16th, 7 p.m. The Thompson Performing Arts Series continues at the Covenant Bank Amphitheater. These are free concerts. Real Diamond tomorrow, Quakertown on 27th, Doylestown Heat on July 29th, Jimmy and the Paris on August 3rd, the Boy Band Project on August 10th, Leaf and Yard Recycling for waste for Doylestown Township residents only. Drop-off site is every third Saturday of the month, March through the December, beginning 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Location, New Britain Road, access to the back of Central Park. Reminder, you can purchase your discount movie tickets and the discount theme tickets from our administrative offices. Now, happily, we're not done. We have the most important thing of the day is the swearing in of Justin Francesco. And
Go find the judge.
go find and
Sitting right there.
Oh, there he is.
Judge, if I could just have like 45 more minutes before you go.
Take your time, Chief. Take your time.
I just want to recognize a couple of our former sergeants that are here. We got Sergeant Brad Zartman, Sergeant Mark Wetmore, who Justin's replacing, Sergeant Michael Johnson. We also have Corporal Jim Becker, I believe, incognito in the back.
wow.
And to thank all of our current officers who are here tonight. Just like to make a couple comments directed toward Justin. It's kind of unusual that we do it this way, and I appreciate everybody's understanding. I wanted it to be more of a ceremony for Justin and allow the board to participate in the post-activities celebration so we can all become one. But Justin, during the past 10 years, you've obviously had your ups and downs. You've had great success, and you've had failures. You stand here tonight in front of your former coworkers, your new peers, the new sergeants, the administration, and in our eyes, you've earned the title of sergeant. You've earned that title. Earning the title of sergeant is the easy part. That's the easy part. The hard part begins now, as you must become a leader of the men and women of the Doylestown Township Police Department and the citizens of this township who are what we represent. You've faced adversity, successes of patrolman, and standing here today, it's evident that your success has far outweighed your failures. That's why we're here tonight. As a sergeant and a leader, you will now face new obstacles that will test your resolve. You will fall, and your falling will test your character and how gracefully you climb back to the top. What you have accomplished to date is of little importance if you fail to continue to grow. It is undoubtedly a difficult time for all those that wear the uniform today, but I am confident that you're prepared for all that you may face. However many years you choose to hold the title of sergeant, you and you alone will be responsible for defining your leadership and how you are remembered as a sergeant. Congratulations and the best of luck to you, your wife Kathleen, and the rest of your family.
Oops.
Oh, the manager didn't get the Bible. Skip to get the Bible, Stephanie. You just read
Hurry, hurry.
Take your time, Stephanie.
Get that on tape.
She'll be mortified. You know.
She's going to, oh my God.
How could I forget?
Hope she can find it.
This whole time.
She knows where it's at. She went the other way.
Oh, she's got it.
Look at that. Look at
How
that.
are you?
Isn't that a picture book?
It's just the cover.
Yeah, that's right.
If you could place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Please repeat after me. I
Justin Utter Francisco,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the ordinances of Doylestown Township,
and the ordinances of Doylestown Township,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and enforce the law
and enforce the law
without consideration of a person's race,
without consideration to a person's race,
color,
sex,
religious creed, sexual orientation, age, national origin, ancestry, handicap or disability.
I, Justin Utter Francisco,
Do further solemnly swear that I take this obligation freely, without mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of Sergeant of Police with fidelity.
Justin, you have to introduce your whole family. Everyone here. Congratulations, family. Thank you.
I have my wife, Kathleen. We call her Key. My mother, Mary.
I'm
I have my mother-in-law and father-in-law, Don and Tom. My loud son over there, who was a very big fan of the meeting. My cousin Colleen and her husband Bill. My sister and my brother-in-law.
Where are they? Okay.
They're in the back. And I think that's... And then I have all the people from the township.
Your other family.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. So
If I
nice to
could,
hear.
can I just...
Please.
First, I just want to thank Chief Logan for giving me the opportunity to test for the position and for having the confidence in me to recommend me to the board. I appreciate it, Chief. I also thank you to the board for acting on his recommendation. For all the people that took the time out of their day to come out for this, I do appreciate you coming. There's a few people mentioned. There's former Sergeant Mike Johnson, Jim Becker, Sergeant Wetmore, who I took his spot, and I was on his squad when he went out. His wife Terry, Brad Zarman and his son, Jeff Stitch's wife Rachel, Holly. And who else am I missing? I'm probably missing someone, so I apologize. But I do thank everyone for taking the time out of their day. I also want to thank everybody that I work with in the back. This is a job where everything's about teamwork, and I feel like if we're not all working together, then none of us will be successful. So I have to attribute a lot of me getting promoted to them, because without them working with me every day and for me now, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be getting promoted without them. So I do want to thank all those guys, and especially for the ones that took the time to come today. And I already introduced my family, but I also want to say thank you to them. Without them, none of this would really mean much, so I am always indebted to them. So.
Wow.
And we're adjourned to eat cake, right? Thank you, everybody.